there, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of season 3 of the Arrow After Show, coming to you live from right here at the Stream.tv studios here in Hollywood, California. I am your host tonight. My name is John Campea, and we're really glad you joined us tonight. An eventful episode of Arrow tonight, to say the least. But first of all, let me introduce the ladies joining me as always. First of all, sitting to my left.
Hey everyone, it's Ann Campea. I don't have a hood on today, but I'm ready to hood up and talk about episode 2.
I could not believe how many people tweeted hood up to me last week.
That's
It's
right.
going to be a thing. Keep going with it. It's going to
Yes,
become a thing.
I am.
And of course, sitting to my right.
Hey guys, Kaori Takee over here, and I'm so excited to be talking about this episode with you.
Lots of really good things happened on the episode tonight. Of course, last week we had not really the cliffhanger, it was the big shock. Sara, Sara dies, which is so stupid. Anyway, I'm just mad because I like the character so much. And it was really fun. I got to point this out first. I had so many people tweeting me last week saying, well, John, Komodo kills her. Didn't you see the trailer for next week? And I kept arguing with people online. I said, trust me, Komodo did not kill her. They're not going to have a character like Sara killed off by another character who's just making his first appearance on the show right now. There's no way that Komodo killed her. Plus, they wouldn't be giving it away in the trailer for next week. And I got called all sorts of names. John, you're just being stubborn, you're being stupid, you can't see what's right in front of your face.
You get called all sorts of names all the time.
From you, yes.
Don't call money on this show, okay?
And I kept saying, no, trust me, it's not Komodo. So I was very, very happy and satisfied to see that it wasn't Komodo that killed her, which leaves open a lot of the other stuff. But before we get into tonight's episode, a big piece, crossing worlds here for a second. Now, most of you guys know that my regular day gig is I run AMC Movie News. And we ran with a big story today on AMC about how DC and Warner Brothers has announced a whole big slate of all their upcoming movies over the next 4 or 5 years. And a couple of interesting things. Number one, there's no Green Arrow. But number two, and this is where it affects Green Arrow, is that there is a Flash movie coming. There is a movie based on the Flash coming, but it's not our Flash from TV. What's the name of the kid who plays the Flash?
Grant Gustin.
That's right, Grant Gustin. And I think it's Ezra Miller is the name of the guy from Perks of Being a Wallflower, and we need to talk about Kevin. He is an incredible actor. Just a dynamite actor, loaded with talent. If you don't think so, then you haven't seen those movies I just mentioned, because he's phenomenal in them. So he's going to be playing the Flash. And what that does is it pretty much puts an exclamation point on something I've been arguing with people for a while about, and that's, I've been telling people for a long time, Warner Brothers and DC is not going to make the same mistake that Marvel is making of crossing their movie universe with their television universe. They are going to keep those separate. They have never even played with the idea of crossing them over. And a lot of people would always argue with me that, yes, they are. We're going to see Stephen Amell as Green Arrow in the movies. We're going to see Grant as the Flash in the movies. And it's like, no, we're not. And today's announcement made it official. They're keeping them separate. And I don't know how you guys feel about this. I wanted to ask you, like, for me, I feel like this is brilliant news, because I feel like crossing the movie universe with the television universe creatively ties the hands of the showrunners of Arrow, because now if you can't do anything you want to on Arrow, because you've got to make sure it stays consistent with whatever they're doing in the movies. We want to do this in Arrow. No, we don't think we want Star City to suffer another big thing before the next movie. Well, then what do? I think that this is the best news in the world for Stephen Amell, Guggenheim, the whole crew at the Arrow. I am thrilled that they are going to keep the creativity and the freedom to do what they want to do and explore what they want to explore with the showrunners of Arrow. I know there are some people disappointed that we're not going to see Stephen Amell in the movie universe. To me, if you're a big fan of Stephen Amell and a big fan of the show, this is the best news we could have gotten, because it keeps them creatively free to do what they need to do on the show, and I'm thrilled about it. But I don't know, how do you guys feel about it?
I completely agree with you. I think, when we talked about it on our Team Amazing show, Speak Nerdy, that I like that they're keeping it separate. Like you said, they're not tying the hands of the people who just follow the show or the people who are going to follow the cinematic universe. And I think Grant Gustin is great in his role on TV. We all love Grant, but I just could not see him leading a Flash film. I just couldn't see it. So, I mean, I'm glad that they're keeping it separate. I'm glad that they have Ezra as the Flash. And Stephen Amell should be happy, because there's not going to be a Green Arrow in the cinematic universe. So he has no competition either.
Yeah, it looks like not only are they not bringing Stephen Amell over, it looks like at least for the foreseeable future, we're not even going to have a Green Arrow. But that's not a big deal because it looks like they're loading up the cinematic universe. Anyway, how do you feel about them not crossing the streams?
I'm actually really happy about that decision because it ultimately gives, us a separation between the TV universe of DC and the movie universe of DC. There's no crossover questions, which is nice and pleasant because, like you said, we don't have to melange the storylines all together. And it would be hard for me to see Grant Gustin, maybe Stephen Amell, in the capacity of the big screen, where they do really well in the small screen. But it's nice.
I think Steve, because I've had now 2+ seasons to see Stephen, and I think Stephen could do it. I think Stephen could lead a film. I really do. I think he's grown and evolved to the place where I think he could get on the big screen and just capture it and carry it.
He has done.
Grant, I don't know that he couldn't, but I've only seen one episode of Flash so far.
Yeah.
So I just don't know. I'm not saying he couldn't. I'm not saying he could. I just simply don't know yet. But I just think it's best for the shows to let them do what they want to do creatively, and I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think if given the role, Stephen Amell would do phenomenal in the big screen, of course. But I am happy that it's
me too.
separated.
Hey, I want to show you guys something that we forgot to show last week. We don't just keep random bottles of booze here on set. Okay, we actually do. But I don't know if you guys know this about Stephen Amell. This is a bottle. I mean, I know that I'm not going to ask you to zoom in on it. Don't worry. I'll zoom like this. This is a bottle of Knocking Point Apex Rose Wine 2013. What's significant about this bottle of wine is that this is Stephen Amell's winery. This is his own brand. Like, and what's the deal? He's got a friend that does it with him?
Yeah, he's got a buddy, a longtime buddy that does it with him, and it's just a nice little side project. I think the first wine that they came out with was called Vigilante Red. So, it has a tie-in to Arrow in some respect, and you know what? Kudos to him because it's a pretty damn good wine.
Yeah, it is a good wine.
Yeah, we had a shot of this before the show last week. So everybody tweet to Stephen Amell. Let him know I am giving him some free damn product placement and tell him to send me a couple more bottles of Knocking Point. Thank you so much, Stephen. All right, I'm going to let you guys know near the end of the show, we are going to do nothing but take your questions and your comments. We want you to tweet to us right now, and you can tweet to us. Just tweet using the hashtag, which you can see right here, Arrow After Show. That's hashtag Arrow After Show. I've got my Twitter feed open right here. I'm monitoring what you guys are sending in, so send that in. And even if you're not watching this live, tweet to us with that hashtag because we read them all throughout the week as well. So let's get into this episode, and let's start with you. Let's start with some of the positives of this episode of Arrow.
Okay, so before I forget, and I took this as a note, I forgot to say this last week, but the stunts are getting better and better with each season.
Oh my God, that's a great observation. They really are.
And I truly believe that the people who are behind the stunts and the coordination are not getting enough credit for them. So I just wanted to make a note of that right away. Is that, when Komodo's bike kind of slid and he jumped on top of it and shot the arrow?
That looked so cool.
Yeah, they're doing so great with the stunts. So I just have to say for TV quality, that's the stunts are on par with the cinematic, universe. First things first, Tommy is back.
Yes.
And I believe I may be the only one that was cheering to see Tommy back, although it's a flashback. I just love Colin Donnell, I think is the actor's name, but I love seeing him on camera. I love seeing him in Arrow, and I'm just glad that they are going back to a character that we met in season 1. And that he has some significance now being in season 3. And so I like seeing Tommy back. Ray Palmer, I can't say enough about Brandon Routh. He just fits right in with everybody else. He just made that smooth transition as a new character being in season 3. And I feel like his relationship with Felicity and his interaction with, whoever he's met so far has been very natural to me. I like him as Ray Palmer, and I can't wait to see what happens between him and Felicity now that she's decided to work for him.
Right.
So that's definitely a positive for me. And Diggle. I know that Arrow kind of tried to shoo him away.
Was he?
Yeah, he wasn't gone long. They definitely had a purpose for him in this episode, and I'm glad that he, again, served a purpose because I can't go without my Diggle for that long, And so the fact that he was able to help out.
Is it appropriate to do a "that's what she said" joke at that point? Anyway, okay. Anyway, sorry, keep going.
Glad Diggle had a purpose in this episode. And lastly, I like the tone of this episode. You know, the fact that we were supposed to be mourning Sara, but it was just a very different tone for me. You know, the way they mourned Tommy, the way they mourned Moira, you know, is just really sad, and the characters didn't really know how to handle it. But now you see, you know, Stephen Amell, you see Oliver Queen saying, you know, I have to be strong because if I break down, everybody else is going to break down.
Yeah, I can't grieve so others can. That was a great line.
Yeah, it totally made sense, because one of my negatives was going to be, why is he not crying over his ex-girlfriend who he loved very much? But it made sense when he said that line. And I like that it was more of a vengeful episode. You know, even Laurel stepped up and was trying to be badass and trying to, you know, have revenge on the person that killed her sister. So you could see the growth and development in the characters and the way that they mourn Sara in this episode. And so definitely a positive for me.
Kaori, what about you? What's some of the positives of the episode?
I've got a crap ton of positives because this was a solid episode. First of all, Oliver says that he already kind of just says, no, it's not anyone from the League of Assassins because they don't kill their own. I mean, he could be wrong, but I like the idea that I can just kind of not worry about them for now. I like Roy in this episode because he kind of steps up, and you see him fighting that duel scene as Red Arrow along with Green Arrow together fighting, and I kind of like that duel moment. I wrote random stuff like hitting the guy in the nuts when
Yes.
when Oliver hit him in the nuts. I was like, yes, that's so awesome. And I like a lot of the lines in this. For example, when Felicity says, "I'm not like most girls." That's a sick-ass line for any girl. And then when Oliver, like you guys mentioned, says, "If I grieve, no one else gets to," which made everything come together. And of course, seeing Tommy back with his little quaff, and like the jokes in the TV show, the TV show were great too, especially when they said, "Oh yeah, like we're really gonna find a body double in China." Yeah. Like that's not gonna happen.
We'll just find somebody in the morgue that looks like him in Hong Kong.
Yeah. That was great.
That was great.
And they added more like melodramatic tune to this particular episode. Like even in the end, there was this music that we're not really used to, where you see them cut through different scenes of each character dealing with their own kind of issues, and I like that. And Laurel and Oliver had a really good scene together. I thought when she was bitching him out because she wanted to go seek vengeance and he told her to stop, I thought that scene was really good. And I thought, you know what, Laurel did good this time around.
I gotta admit, I was really annoyed by Laurel at first, because the first thing we hear from her when they go back down, first of all, how did she carry Sara, still perfectly with the three arrows sticking out, all the way across town, into the arrow cave, down the stairs, getting on the, that's pretty good.
You know what I thought? I thought Uber.
Uber, yes, Uber.
CrossFit.
Uber
She's
corpse.
doing CrossFit.
Perfect. And then the first line out of her mouth, I thought came out as really cheesy, the whole, "It's not fair, Ollie. We just got her back." But you know what? After that initial annoyance, I thought Laurel was solid this episode. I really did.
Everybody record that.
I know. I really did. I honestly did. I thought she brought some emotion to it. I thought it was really cool. But saying that, I love the line that Oliver said to her. She's getting mad and she wants to go with him. And I love the line. I felt like Guggenheim must be watching this show, because the line that Oliver says to her is, "Sara trained with the deadliest assassins in the world for 5 years. What do you think you're going to do?" Which has been like my whole argument about why Laurel should not ever be Black Canary. Anyway, the Tommy being back. Look, is there anybody who really thinks that's the last we're going to see of Tommy?
No.
Whether it's flashbacks or whether it's a Lazarus pit or whether it's something, Tommy's going to be back. I just believe that. I thought they handled the emotional impact of the death of Sara really well. I thought, you know, being a little bit of they could have handled it by going, "Oh no, Sarah's dead," and then move on, you know, but they didn't. They kept coming back to that, and that's proper. That's what should have happened. That was appropriate, and I liked the way they did that. I liked Roy in the episode.
Wow.
Now wait a second here. Here's the thing. I think they have found... I've always never liked Roy because mostly he just doesn't fit. You know, he's very one-dimensional, doesn't fit, a little bit of a whiny bitch, all that kind of stuff. But I feel like in this season, especially in this episode, they have found his place. They have found his role. He is a utility to Oliver. And when he's doing that, I can take him a little bit more seriously, you know? It's suddenly now, to me, it feels like he's starting to fit. And that's a huge departure for me from like last season, where I'm like, just write this character out of this show, please. But you know what? They found his place, they found his role, and I liked it. I like the developing relationship, you know, as adversarial as it is between Oliver and I forget the character's name in Hong Kong that's holding him prisoner in the flashbacks.
Rock'em Sock'em.
But I like that developing relationship there. They did a lot right in this episode, and you know, I'll save that for the things I don't like. Anyway, let's go into the things that we thought maybe could have been better for this episode, because nothing's perfect. So, Kaori, what do you think they could have done better this episode? What mistakes do you think they might have made?
Well, I'm so happy that you enjoyed Roy this particular episode. I just want to say that. And I think that you have a really solid point that you can see a certain dimension in him growing, particularly in this particular episode, because he has a conflict that you actually see happening in him.
Yeah.
And everyone in this, in the cave, we call Arrow Cave, they have conflicted emotions, and now we're starting to see that happen within him. But okay, negatives, because I'm so happy that you, okay. All right, so it really bothered me that Laurel didn't want to tell her dad that Sara died, let alone he should be able to attend her funeral. I know that it's gonna make sense someplace, somehow, but I just didn't agree with that particular choice. I actually wrote too much Sara talk because she wasn't particularly my favorite character. Yeah, I'm glad she served her purpose, and that was to die, okay? That was what happened this season. And what else? There was some, although Laurel did good, I thought that there were some cheesy moments when she got really emotional and wanted to shoot that gun. And she shot it, but found out it was empty. And then he says the only thing that matters is that you didn't.
It's like, no, you tried to murder that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of matters.
Right, off the hook that quick. So that kind of disturbed me. But that's really about it, because I thought it was a really good episode overall.
I was not really thrilled with how they handled Komodo, because, you know, he comes in, he's clearly a force to be reckoned with. The stunts on the bikes were great, especially that one move. That was cinema-worthy. That move where he wipes out his own bike, jumps onto it, fires. It's like, that's badass. Yep. And then, by the end of the episode, he's gone. And I don't like it when Arrow, the show itself, this goes all the way back to season 1, gets into just the villain of the week, the villain of the week, the villain of the week, because they bring in sometimes they're kind of weird villains, but sometimes you get somebody that could be really cool, like Komodo, and they're just like that in a random shot. Okay, now he's gone. So now let's move on to the next villain of the week. I'm not a big. I wish they would have stretched him out somehow, some way. So that would have been my preference for them to do. My big negative, but this is a running theme for me throughout this show.
I know what you're gonna say.
Oh, you know what I'm gonna say.
Let's do it.
Thea. End of the episode. Apparently, in this universe that Arrow lives in, all it takes is 5 months to become a super ninja. Doesn't matter. No, forget this lifelong training kind of thing. 5 months, all you need, super ninja. That kind of annoyed me. I would have much rather had them cut to, she's with Merlyn and he's training her. That would have made some sense to me, but just to go to them and now she's taking out 2 other samurais and doing jump flips and doing all this other kind of stuff. I'm like, it pulls me out so much, especially coming after the line that Oliver gave. He's like, hey, Sara trained for 5 years, deadliest warriors in the world. It's like, oh yeah, but Thea, 5 months, she's good. So I wish they had done that differently. But whatever, it was just a throwaway scene at the end. What are some of the things you didn't like about the episode?
Well, here's the weird thing. I mean, in 5 months, if you're training hard every day, perhaps you could get there physically and in your skill, but I still feel like there's a mental aspect that you have to get there to get that like assassin kind of mind. And I don't think 5 months is enough time. I don't know assassins' minds, but I feel like there has to be more experience in her life to get her to that point where she wants to hurt people. Like, I don't really buy the story up to this point that she is that hurt over what has happened to her that she wants to train and be this badass, potentially villain.
See, I was really conflicted with the end scene because it was kind of not so shocking because we kind of expected her to be training with Daddy Merlyn.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I feel that she was hurt. She was really dramatic in the last couple episodes of the last season. She lost her mom, and then she finds out Roy lied to her. She finds out her brother lied to her. She had no one to trust. She tried to kill her own dad, Daddy Merlyn, and then he decides to train her. She got captured by Deathstroke, so a lot of crap happened to her. So I can imagine that she's like, fuck this, excuse my French, and I'm gonna train hard and I'm gonna seek my vengeance. I can see that happening.
You know, I've always thought she was just a whiny little bitch, but when you put it like that, you make me rethink my position.
Yeah,
You know what? No, I mean, stop and be rational about it. She, in a very short period of time, had to endure an awful lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. You know,
Very
you kind
quickly
of
pushed her to the edge, yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
Okay, we want to take some of your Twitter questions. We're going to spend the next 10 minutes or so taking your questions you guys are sending into Twitter. Once again, if you're watching us live right now, tweet using the hashtag #ArrowAfterShow, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. The first thing that comes in here is Israel Freeman, who writes, I also felt Komodo wasn't Sara's killer, based on the voice and her face. Do you think it was Ra's al Ghul? I don't think it was Ra's al Ghul because what I said last week was when she turns to whoever it was that killed her, she looked calm. She's like, oh, what are you doing here? You know, it wasn't panic, it wasn't fear, it wasn't anything like that. And then the three O's go in. And then, of course, we have Oliver saying, because remember, she went back into the League of Assassins fold, and Oliver pointed out they don't kill their own. So I never thought it was her. I'm starting to think it was Tommy.
Oh.
I'm starting to think it was Tommy. I really am. I think now that they're reintroducing him to the show, what could be the biggest heart rip for Oliver?
Do you have any idea what the motivation would be?
Nope, no clue. The only thing I can think of is Daddy Merlyn took Tommy's body to the League of Assassins. In this universe, they have the Lazarus Pit. Brought him back, trained him as a killer, and I don't know the whys, okay? Don't bother me with the details. I don't know the whys.
It's a crazy-ass theory.
But I am really starting to believe it's Tommy, because you can scratch Thea off, because she's on the other side of the planet. Scratch Daddy Merlyn off on the other side of the planet. It's not Komodo. I don't think it was Deathstroke. I don't think, some people want to suggest it was maybe Huntress. But I don't see that as being within her character. She's just going to come and just cold-blooded murder somebody like that, like somebody like Sara. So I don't think she would have done that. We're running out of options. I think it was Tommy. I'm going to go on record now. I think it was Tommy. And maybe I'll change my mind by next week. But do you guys have any other theories?
I personally don't think it was Tommy. I feel that if Tommy does come back resurrected or from the Lazarus Pit, he might end up being a good guy. And that's something I'm hoping for. But I definitely do think it's someone that she is familiar with because of her reaction to his presence or her presence. But I have no idea who it could be.
My wild-ass guess was going to be the guy we can't remember his name from the flashbacks. No motivation behind it except we're already seeing him. We're introduced to him in the flashbacks. Maybe there's some story that they're going to build up. I just wanted to go back to the point that you made about Komodo, though.
Okay.
Because I completely agree that I feel like I wish they would have elaborated. He's not dead, so they could potentially bring him back. But already the way the foundation they set for him, it didn't meet my expectations for him. I mean, I read Kill Machine, so I've seen Komodo in the comics, and he's just a much more badass character. So when people were telling us that he potentially was a killer, I was like, yes, this could potentially be a really good villain for Oliver because he is a formidable opponent in the comics. And so the fact that they didn't do that kind of sucked. The fact that it's not him now kind of sucks. I kind of think either the guy in the flashbacks, or I'm just going to throw a wild ass guess that it's a female just because of where she was shot, the angle she was shot in.
Because of the boobs.
Probably because of the boobs.
Okay, so, well, Dr. Christopher X writes in, can they recast a better actress as Laurel, or is it too late for that? You know what? For all the complaining I've done about the Laurel character, really, and I know certain people on this panel may disagree with me, for all the complaining I have done about Laurel over the season 2 and a little bit of season 3, I've never really felt it was the actress's fault. I've always felt that the writers of the show have struggled with her as a character. And really, where does she fit? They've tried some things with her that I did not think worked well at all. Her whole substance abuse storyline didn't work. It just didn't work. And I feel like they always struggled with getting her fitted back in. And I think, what's the name of the actress who plays Laurel?
Katie Cassidy.
Katie Cassidy. I really feel like Katie Cassidy, and you know, I'm not on set, so I don't know this for a fact, but I feel like she was doing the best with the material given to her. I think she continues to do the best with the material given to her. And I think you see it because when they have it right, and they have Laurel actually fitting into the story right, she shines. Katie Cassidy shines. But when the character is awkward and out of place, and they don't have them in the right type of a storyline going, no, it doesn't matter who. You can have Meryl Streep playing her, and it won't save it. You know, so I think Cassidy's been fine. What do you guys think?
I think she's perfect for the role, actually, and that's coming from me, who has not been a fan of her from season 1, but she's really grown into her character as Laurel Lance, and I'm actually at a point where I can really get behind her becoming the Black Canary at some point, because I have
Not
faith.
me.
I know, but I have faith that the writers are gonna somehow make sense of this, you know, and they probably watched our show and they told you via Oliver Queen that, look, how is this happening? And they're going to respond to your thing eventually. So I'm okay with Katie Cassidy. I think she does a really good job with what she's got, and she did really a solid performance in this episode.
Yeah, I've never had a complaint with her as an actress, and I think I agree with you that she now finally has a purpose, so now I don't mind her. I mean, she was really badass in this episode when she was banging that guy's arm into the metal in the hospital. I mean, last season we could have done without her, like you said, because of the drug problem. It was just whiny drugs every freaking episode, and so we could have done without her the whole season, but this season she actually is serving a purpose, and Katie Cassidy is doing great.
Yeah.
This next question comes from Matthew Smith, and he writes in, could you see a Richard Grayson appearance in the show with this mention of Bloodhaven Nightwing series? Well, remember, they mentioned Bloodhaven last year, too.
And last year.
I think even in season 1.
I think in season 1 as well it got a mention. And I don't think necessarily that means that means Dick Grayson's going to be there. No, they live in this universe and Bloodhaven's part of it. I don't think that necessarily means Nightwing is going to be there. I wouldn't completely rule out the possibility of Nightwing, but if there is Nightwing, it's going to be a very different Nightwing than what we know. Because if they do bring in Nightwing, it's going to have nothing to do with being Robin. There will be no history of Robin because they are not going to have anything to... They talked about, Warner Brothers reps talked about this before, you're not going to see Batman. You're not going to see Batman and Arrow. At least that's what they've said. They stated that pretty definitively. They are very, very protective of their Batman character because the Batman character to Warner Brothers is the biggest moneymaker, the biggest ka-ching that they have. And they are not going to let him just pop up in TV series. They're not. So if we do see a Nightwing, it's going to be a different Nightwing than we've ever seen. But I don't think just because they mentioned Bloodhaven, that means we're going to see him. Remember, I believe on the last week's episode, I didn't see it myself, but a number of people pointed this out to me. In the boxing arena, there was a Ferris aviation billboard, right?
Yeah.
Of course, that's Green Lantern's girlfriend, right? Ferris, who runs that. So it's like, oh my gosh, I had a bunch of people saying, that means Green Lantern's going to be there. No, it's just an Easter egg.
Yeah, and there continues to be Easter eggs of Cord, of Blue Beetle.
Right,
and, you know, that I think
since season 1.
Yeah, 1 or 2. Yeah. So we haven't seen him come up yet either.
I mean, I think that's what they continuously do, whether it is Arrow or The Flash. There is continuous Easter eggs to please us, to entice us, to excite us. And it works because we're sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, is this possible? Are they coming into town? But consider it as a present from the writers and everything, and I'm excited about it. They had the Harley Quinn Easter egg last season too.
Harley Quinn got
everyone all amped and juiced and, you know.
Tied up and everything, for sure.
Tom Snow writes, what do you think of the new intro to the show? Personally, I thought it was awful. I'm glad I'm not the only one who thought so. I didn't like the read of it. I became something else. I didn't like the read of it. I didn't like the copy. I'm not comfortable. And I'm totally for changing it up and doing something new, but the opening to this week's episode did not work for me.
I'm going to be completely honest with you. I did not notice any change.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't notice
You were
either.
zoned out.
You didn't either?
I didn't notice either.
You guys were both like watching Magic Mike or something on the tablet at the time that the opening was going
We
on.
were just imagining Stephen
Amell's
Amell
abs.
working out. That's what happened.
Okay, let's see here. Okay, Thomas Zera writes, will Nisa come back to help Ollie find Sarah's killer? When will Lance find out about Sara? First of all, I meant to agree with you about that whole thing about not telling her dad about the death. Like, he couldn't even now go to the funeral.
Yeah.
And I understand that they try to come up with a plot device as to why he doesn't know yet. And I guess their plot device is, she's afraid the stress of it will kill him.
Boo.
He is a police captain.
Yeah.
He's he's doing police work every day. Yeah, I thought that was bad too. So I hope he finds out soon. Do you think Nisa could come back? Well, look, I don't think they're done using the League of Assassins.
Oh, no.
No way.
So the whole thing, this does set up an interesting thing. If it comes down to like season 3 finale, like they had in the season 2 finale, where okay, big battle brewing, then you could see a very, very pissed off Nisa come back and kill some fools. But so I believe we're going to see Nisa again this season.
I mean, it could be going against what Oliver was saying, but Nisa could have killed her too.
I don't think the voice was so. It was such a masculine voice.
But it could have been like.
Yeah,
you
but
know?
she's standing right in front of her. Why would she mask her voice? I just don't.
Also,
she went back with her.
Does Nisa even know that Sara is dead at this point? I mean, that's
Probably
also
not
a
yet.
question.
Yeah.
I'm
Who
sure
knows?
she will soon, though. If she doesn't know
Revenge
already.
is coming for sure when she finds out.
Okay, Abdullah Ali Obadai writes, Roy killed Sara. He kept looking at those arrows weirdly. He's still messed up. Look, remember last week I said I wouldn't completely write off the notion that Roy may still suffer from lingering effects of the Mirakuru that they're not even aware of. Now, I'm not willing to put money on that. I don't actually think that's what's happening. But it is not that far-fetched of a thing that he may be lapsing in and out of Mirakuru madness, and he killed Sara. Like, because remember, Sara, we all believed she recognized the person on the roof with her. It's like, oh, what are you doing here? Zip, zip, zip. Arrows. Remember, Roy magically in 5 months became an Olympic-level archer, so 3 arrows to the belly. Look, I don't actually believe that's what happened, but it's not so crazy. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think it is possible, but I do think it's leaning towards that's probably, for me, 99% not the case. Because I think he's just busy being conflicted and working with Oliver, and I don't think he would just flip and kill Canary. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Everything you guys said.
Okay, Eliza Cabayas writes, do you think Sara's death will be the reason why Ra's al Ghul finally comes to Starling City? I hadn't thought about that. I mean, if Nisa gets real pissed and it's like, somebody upset my daughter, and Big Daddy Al Ghul decides to come back. By the way, from now on, I'm going to refer to Ra's al Ghul as Big Daddy Al Ghul.
I feel like that's like a WWE name.
Somebody make a meme of that for me. Make a T-shirt for me. Big Daddy Al Ghul. I want that. If nobody does it, I'm going to start calling myself that. I don't know why. Big Daddy Al Ghul.
I get the feeling that when and if Ra's al Ghul gets into the scene, it will be more because of Daddy Merlyn or Tommy Merlyn rather than because of Canary. But that's just my hunch.
Yeah, I feel like the revenge has to come through Nisa or somebody he's tighter with. I don't think he had a close relationship with Sara, but perhaps if Nisa is grieving over him, then maybe that will cause him to want to come out.
Yeah, you hurt my
stir
daughter.
up some shit. Yeah, for sure.
All right, this one comes from Josh Wiseman, who writes, Sin hasn't been seen yet this season so far, and I was wondering if you think we'll see more of her, maybe as the new Black Canary.
Ooh.
I kind of think she's gonna be gone for a little bit. Sorry, but I don't really see her purpose unless she's like the middle woman between Thea and Roy Harper. So bye-bye, who knows? I don't know.
And if they're following any comic book canon, Sin is her own character as part of the Birds of Prey. She's never Black Canary.
Yeah.
I just can't see it.
Okay, and this will be our last question of the evening. Kira S. writes, favorite acting moments? Any performances that stood out this episode? Hint, hint, Emily/Felicity was amazing.
Hell yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, she was great.
Actually, I wanted to point that out as my conflicting negative/positive because I love Felicity so much, but I just thought she needed to tone it down a notch. I know she lost her friend, but didn't she kind of not like her because she was banging the man of her dreams? I thought she needed to.
See, I'll say this. I know a lot of people I've been seeing online are really talking about Emily's performance in that scene down in the cave where she's talking to Oliver about it's okay to have emotions. And like, honestly, I agree. I think she overplayed that scene a little bit. To me, that wasn't her great scene. To me, her great scene this episode was talking to Brandon Routh as she's masking her anger at him with really her hurt about Sara. And Brandon has had all the great lines in that scene. But if you just watch her without words, the way she would, rotate through the emotions that she's struggling with at that time, between wanting to be mad, masking that anger, feeling so hurt, trying to keep it under control, all at once, the subtlety. Like, a lot of people look at the big extrovert performances and think those are great. Me, I die for the subtle performances because I find those so much harder. And her performance in that scene to me blew me away. The other scene for me is going back to that scene in the cave between Oliver and Felicity. Oliver just stone cold trying to keep it together. And when he gives that line, I don't grieve so that everybody else can.
Love that line.
Once again, it was the subtlety of it. It wasn't the big, I'm so angry. It was the subtlety, holding it in and whatever. And those are the difficult scenes. And that's, you know what? I don't think Amell could have pulled off that scene in season 1. At least not in the first half of season 1. But he, like we say this all the time, he just keeps evolving as an actor. That now he can do scenes like that and go, whoa.
Yeah.
So to me, I really like that.
And aside from Emily Bett Rickards, I completely agree with what you guys said on Felicity, but just the scenes with Oliver and Diggle. I always
great.
find heartwarming, moments with them. I always feel like John is that person for Oliver that can kind of let him decompress and almost, he almost cried in that scene.
I love that scene when Oliver says, I don't want to die here. And all Diggle says is, then don't. And he walks away.
It's so cool because Diggle knows what Oliver needs. He didn't need somebody to then come over and give him a hug. He just needed, then don't, idiot. And walk out. And that's what he needed. Yep. So cool. All right, folks. Well, that'll do it for us for this installment of the Arrow After Show. Make sure you continue to watch Arrow, the show in general. It is a fantastic show. It deserves to have a bigger audience than it does. Become an Arrow evangelist. Tell all your friends about it. Get them watching it too. And then, hey, why not? After you watch a show, watch the Arrow After Show with us. We will be back again next week, but I want to start by thanking the ladies joining me. First of all, Ann Campea. Ann, where can people find you online?
You can find me online at Ann Campea, as well as Kaori and I at Team Amazing, and I want to know your theories about who you think killed Sara.
That's going to be, I think, the big running mystery for at least half of the season, the first half of the season. Of course, over here, Miss Kaori Takee. Kaori, where can people find you? You can find me at Kaorious. That's Kaorious on Twitter, as well as Instagram, as well as at youtube.com/teamamazing. Subscribe, and thank you for joining us. And you can find me on all the various social media networks on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at John Campea. And if you're a movie fan, make sure you join me on my daily show called AMC Movie Talk. Just search Google for AMC Movie Talk. You'll find me. So that'll do it for us for this episode of Arrow. Thanks so much for joining us, guys. So we'll see you again next week. And until then, bye-bye.